Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Officer Brush Talks About Stuff. Today I'm here with Corey and Alora, and he's here from Weird Draft Games to talk about his new game, Explosion in the Laboratory, and I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, yeah, thanks. Yep, I'm Corey Andalora, and this is my game Explosion in the Laboratory or Laboratory, however you prefer to pronounce it. It's a micro game, so 27 card push your luck game that's in the same universe as Fire in the Library. Actually, it's a prequel to Fire in the Library. So in this case, you're mixing chemicals, pushing your luck, hoping to score points. But if you do too much, the solution gets volatile and an explosion. And the reason why it's a prequel is it's that explosion that led to the Fire in the Library. And for those familiar with Fire in the Library, it's also a push your luck game. So those familiar with that game will see the similarities and in a much smaller portable.
Okay, so let's get a little bit behind, who are you?
So I am just a designer, so I'm not affiliated with Weird Giraffe. I
Okay,
But I did do. They had a contest in 2020 for developing a game that's in the same universe as one of their titles. I chose Fire in the Library, and so I submitted. At the time, it was an 18 card game. My game was the winner of that contest. So they ultimately ended up signing the game, and it's gone through a few changes, like just a few more cards, and now it's going to be on Backerkit November 1st for crowdfunding, and hopefully everyone will jump on board.
okay. Is this one of your first games, or what else have you designed?
So I also have a game I co-designed with my design partner Donnie Coleman on a game called Mission Control Critical Orbit. It was shown at Gen Con. It's set for a soft release at PAX Unplugged, and then it will hit a retail release next year. So that's a cooperative, asymmetric, real-time roll and write game. It's about one player is like an ethernaut stuck in space, running out of the oxygen, and the other players are mission control, trying to provide the tools to restore the oxygen within 20 minutes. So that game is set to come out. I've done again with Donnie Coleman, a micro game, nano game, a 4 card game for Button Shy called Chuck and Cover. That was released as part of their Board Game of the Month club. But our start was the two of us actually. We self-published a game in 2019, it was on Kickstarter in 2019 called Capital Vices, another 18 card game. Collectively, we have a couple other games in the works. Hopefully you'll see more from us in the future as well.
All right. And so let's just talk a little bit about you, because I like to get people to know the person behind a lot of the games that they design. And so just what brought you into games and what made you want to make board games?
So I've played games all since growing up. I have 3 brothers, 2 older, 1 younger. We played a lot of board games. So the typical ones you'll hear: Monopoly and the games that you kind of get started with. The original Fireball Island, into Hero Quest. Back, again, all the original versions of these games. It's kind of cool to see that they're all getting remade. And then, but we also dabbled with creating our own like extensions to these games or making our own games as well. I remember whenever there was like a giant cardboard box, that would be the first thing we do. Oh, how do we turn this into a game? But my first real leap into design for like the modern hobby games was about a little over 10 years ago. I did a design contest on the Game Crafter for a cooperative game, and I made a game called 27 Panic, which is about time travel and building rails to launch rockets at impending comet that was about to collide with Earth. So that was my first game. It was a finalist, didn't win, but it still did pretty well in that contest. And then stuck to designing for several years after that before finally starting to like get the foot in the door with some publishers and having them look at some of my designs.
Okay. And so you said that this was pretty much a contest that you won, but what made you want to do Explosion in a laboratory?
So we had to for that contest pick one of Weird Giraffe's existing titles. I liked Fire in the Library a lot, but what really drew me to the idea of doing Explosion in the Laboratory was, how do I take a bag building push your luck game where you're putting tokens in and pulling them out, and there's odds are constantly changing. How do I take that game and get the same or similar experience in just 18 cards? That was like a challenge to myself, a design challenge, because you can imagine when you have lots of components and you're building up a bag, the odds are constantly changing. How can I do something similar with just 18 cards? It's not feasible to build up a deck that big with just 18 cards. So I had to really, the design constraints were interesting to me. And so really playing with that to finally get the right mix, to get that same feel, but in a micro package.
Okay. And once you got selected for this, how did you said the game went through some tweaks and stuff like that. Did it get tested by the community, or how did you find out what feedback you needed?
Leading contest, Weird Draft on their Discord had a regularly testing community. So like once a week, a bunch of us could get together and try out our designs. And I took advantage of that fully. And I got a lot of good feedback. It went through a number of changes. One of the things was, so in the game, you if you pull 2 red chemicals, then your solution explodes, right? The problem was, like, sometimes you'd never pull a single red, and so you knew to keep going, right? That you would never explode. So there was no, it didn't feel like push your luck. And so one of the feedback from getting that was, okay, there's got to be another element where you can always bust, even if you didn't pull red. And so I added another chemical that no matter when you pull it, it's a lot more rare, but whenever you pull that chemical, you explode. So there was always that tension. So just little things like that you get through play testers, and you get that feel and keep tweaking it a little bit. And then, of course, after it was signed, I mentioned it's now 27 cards. And what that allowed us to do is there's these tools, or they're called process cards, that let you, you can maybe avoid exploding on one round or get multiple, double points or something. So they're tools that help you do better later in the game. But I could only have room for 4 of those with 18 cards, with the limitations of 18 cards. I only have 4 of them. So we were able to put more in the game now that there's 27 cards. So that's the kind of development that it's gone through. The core of the game hasn't changed, and it's really held up through the rigors of development.
You created this game. They worked with you on refining it. How did it feel when you found out that this is what you were going to be doing, that you won the contest and that they were moving forward with you?
I mean, it was great. It was my first, honestly, it was my first signed game. I've signed a number since then, but that was my first. That was like my foot in the door. As you think, okay, this is it. It's never it. There's always more work to be done. But it was really exciting. Felt really good, especially seeing some of the other contest entries that I helped test myself, or I knew the people that were working them. Really strong designers. So I have a lot of respect for all of them. And so it was an honor to be the one that won. I know that Weird Giraffe even signed another game from that contest. So it just goes to show you the quality that was there in that particular contest. But it was really exciting, and and it's been, I said 2020, so here we are in 2022. It's really exciting to see, finally other people get a chance to back it and get it in their hands.
Okay. And so what kind of advice would you give to maybe somebody that's looking into designing games and stuff like that? Like, what's one thing that you would let them know?
I mean, I guess there's a couple things, but I'll start with just get it to the table and play it. Like, I think a lot of new designers worry about getting it just right before someone sees it, or overthinking certain things. Like, you need to get it and play it right off the bat and figure out what works, what doesn't work, what's even fun. Because you could spend a lot of time making something functional. I've done this, and this is why I'm bringing it up. I've made this mistake. Oh, this is functional. This works. But functional doesn't mean fun necessarily. You have to get it to the table. You have to play it. You have to play it with different types of people, get some feedback, and find that fun and really accentuate that part of the game. Like, sometimes it's not even the part that you expected. And then suddenly there's, oh, this part was actually pretty fun. I'm going to make that a bigger part of my game. So yeah, just get it to the table and play it. That's the biggest thing.
Okay. All right. And in a minute, what we're going to do is we're going to switch on over to the game and we'll do a gameplay session for those that are interested. But, what other kind of things, what are you hoping to see out of this campaign, and just what do you want?
I just hope that people are give it a chance and back it. But more importantly, I want them to enjoy it. Right? I really don't just make games just to hope they sell. I want people to actually play and enjoy them. Like it doesn't mean anything to me if it sells a lot and it sits on someone's shelf. I want my
Yeah.
games played. That's more important to me than anything. So yeah, just want people to play my games and having fun.
Okay. Well, if they want to learn more about you in particular, where can they go to follow like some of the projects that you work on and things like that?
I mentioned that I self-published the game first, and so under the label of Concept Medley. So I'm known as, and along with Donnie Coleman, who I'll bring up a lot because we design, test a lot of each other's designs a lot. We use the Concept Medley on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and we also have a website, conceptmedley.com. Can't promise they get updated a ton, but we definitely can be contacted through all those channels. And we put some things up there, whether it's games we're playing, design ideas. We had speaking of games on the shelf, we had something going on Instagram called the Shelf of Shame Showdown, where we play each one of a game that we both own and that we haven't played yet, and
Yeah.
and just kind of rate which one wins this showdown.
Okay.
And that was what we were doing for fun. But yeah, we just it's all things games on those channels. But yeah, you can if you're looking to contact me through those. I'm pretty responsive, so no
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. And I'll make sure to include those links along with the link to your current game, Explosion Laboratory. That way they can kind of follow along with that. If they want to learn more about Explosion in a laboratory, where can they go?
So you can find out more about that at Weird Giraffe Games, their website. There's a link under upcoming games, and Explosion is one of them. You can also find it November 1st. It's going to be launching on Backerkit. So if you go to the crowdfunding page on Backerkit, you'll see it listed amongst those games. And that's how you can back it.